everyone. Welcome back to the Monday Drive. We're continuing our series with getting to interview and getting to know our mission partners. And so this week we have Mission of Hope here with us. We have Austin and Paige with us. They live down in the DR. They've been all over the place with Mission of Hope, and excited to just dive in with them and hear more about what you guys do. So welcome to the podcast.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah,
it's awesome. I'd love for you guys just to start out, just kind of give us a picture. Who are you guys? Introduce yourselves, what you guys do at Mission of Hope, what that looks like.
Yeah. I'm Austin Oberlag.
I'm Paige.
Yeah. We've been married for 3.5 years now, for this August, and we both met in Haiti through Mission of Hope. And so, which is just a cool story. All of our dating, engaged, married life, for the most part, has been on the island of Hispaniola in the Dominican Republic in Haiti. I'm originally from Arkansas. Paige is a little all over.
All over.
Yeah.
My dad was in the military, so we moved around all over, but spent most of my life here in Fort Myers.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so both of our home churches were doing mission trips to Mission of Hope, and we both fell in love with Haiti at different times separately, and the Lord called us to step in and start serving the Mission of Hope. And so we've gotten to serve with them for 6 years now. A lot of my role originally was logistics, operations, working on teams coming in and out when they land on the ground to when they leave, their whole experience, all of the vehicle, transportation, translators, food, and then what they're doing, how they're getting into the communities and who they're working with. And then Paige has been a lot of the relationship side of that since we started. And lately I've gotten to hop in with her on some of the relational sides, so which has been fun.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you guys go all the way back before, you said both your churches kind of did mission trips. Mm-hmm. So you're doing a mission trip. I've been on a mission trip. Yeah. Several people have. How did you go from I'm on a mission trip to I want to do this full time? What was that journey like for each of you guys?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think for me, I had been on a mission trip to Guatemala. We served in Guatemala City. And that was really where the Lord had just solidified my love for international missions, and just felt very strongly that call on my life. And then when I went to Haiti a year later with Mission of Hope, the way that Mission of Hope was doing missions, empowering local leaders, and it not being about us as North Americans, but really empowering the local church and not doing ministry for them, but alongside of them.
Yeah.
I just fell in love with the way that they were doing that. And I just remember being surrounded by the Haitian community and the people, and just growing a love for those people, and just really feeling like, man, I could be surrounded by these people for the rest of my life. And so just walked away from that trip, just really praying through, like, Lord, I would love to do this, and him just opening up that door for me. Mm-hmm.
I do love, I'll get to you in a second, but I do love the Mission of Hope. I love this strategy of doing missions through the local, people there, and not just having the North Americans come over and do it, right? But I love that emphasis that they've always had of and I know Haiti is kind of shut down right now a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but how that's still happening with all the Haitian I just love that really sold me when I first started getting involved with Mission of Hope. I love that. So what about you, Austin? How'd you get involved?
So mine started when I was 13. I went on my first mission trip internationally. My mom let me go. I think it was a day and age where my mom was like, yeah, just go on a mission trip. I feel like nowadays it's a little bit harder when you're younger. And she let me go to Honduras. And on that trip, I was pushed out of my comfort zone. I was very much in a world back in the States where it was, I was very type A, where it was like, hey, if we're going to go, go to school, and then when we're done, pick you up from school, we're going to go to McDonald's, then we're going to go to Walmart, then we're going to go home. If anything was out of order, I was not a fan of it. And so being on a mission trip, man, things are just different. You're not on your time anymore, especially in the Caribbean, you're on island time. And so it's, things just happen and you go with the flow. And so I learned a lot on that trip, but I felt, there was just something on that trip where I just felt like, man, something's tugging on my heart to come and do this long term. And I was young and I was still figuring out my faith a lot and understanding the Holy Spirit a lot. But looking back, I was like, man, that was the Holy Spirit putting that on my heart of like, I want you to go into the nations and to serve. And so I felt that early on. So every summer from 13 to 18 years old, I went on a mission trip internationally to either Honduras or Guatemala. And then when I was 18, I went to Haiti for the first time through Mission of Hope. Then I went to college and kind of did my own thing. I decided, you know what, I'll see what I want to do. The Lord was very gracious to allow me to do that and still keep me connected to his body. And I kind of was back and forth in church, party. My junior year, though, I went to a service and they were talking about mission trips. And I was like, man, I haven't been on one in like 3 years, which from going 13 to 18 on mission trips and then not going for 3 years was like, I was like, oh man, I haven't been on one in a long time.
Yeah.
And they were going to Haiti and it was through Mission of Hope. And I was like, I've been there. And so I signed up and I went. Man, on that trip, the Lord was so gracious again to be like, hey, remember this? Like, this is what I've called you to. And on that trip, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm doing this. So as soon as I got back, I applied for the internship through Mission of Hope way early. So early, they were like, are you applying for this year? I was like, no, next year. But I know if I linger, I'm just going to talk myself out of it eventually and not go. And so in that internship, just the Lord was like, it was just very evident. It's like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I've been kind of balancing on like, I want to do this though, but the Lord's pulling me this way. And finally he's like, you know what, God, yeah, I'm going to go and do this. I need to make this decision. And that's kind of how I got connected into Mission of Hope and finished school and then came on staff after that. So,
yeah. So both of you guys went through the internship program, correct? Okay.
Right.
So we have a lot of kind of young adults, college or post-college, that kind of area, or graduating seniors. What is that like? Can you give us a little taste of like, what would that be like if they were like, man, I would love to like kind of dip my toe in. I don't know if I want to be a missionary, but that's a really good, like, it's more than just a mission trip,
right?
But it's not quite, I'm moving there yet. What was that like? And what would that be like for them if they went?
Yeah. Paige double dipped, so she did 2 internships in a row. But from my experience, it was the summer internship, which the summer for Mission of Hope is, I mean, that's one of your busiest seasons because that's typically when mission trips are coming down. And so that was a majority of that, where it was, I would probably say 12 weeks of just nonstop, just ministry. And it was so much fun. But at the end of the day, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. But it was cool because you're getting out in the communities, you're seeing what the local church is doing, and you're getting to be a part of the North American church coming in that's walking alongside them. And you're getting to see a lot of people's perspectives start to shift, and you get to help them walk through that. And so it was just, for me, it was a really incredible moment to see, man, one, the church in America, some really good things going on. I know that sometimes it gets a bad rap, and we all struggle in different ways, and the North American church has its things that it's growing and it's working on. But man, you got to see the heart of people coming in and serving. But then not only that, you're getting to see what they're taking back, how the Lord's impacting them there to take them back to where he's actually placed them and called them in their communities back home. But then you're also getting to see a culture where they have next to nothing compared to what I had growing up and what I was experiencing back home. But you see a faith that is unlike anything I've ever seen. And so you're getting just molded and getting to see new perspectives and new culture. So it was a cool moment for me of like wanting to do missions. So I got to see a little behind the scenes, also of what it takes to do missions on the field, because a lot of times you think it's this cool, for lack of a better term, like sexy thing.
Yeah,
it's like, go in different country and culture and, do ministry. And, but there's a lot of hard things and a lot of things that are monotonous and sometimes you don't want to do, but it's got to get done so that the ministry can continue. And so you get to see some other sides of it to really get to see, okay, is this something that I really want to do? Because it takes some sacrifice. It takes a lot of sacrifice to go and to do that for a lot of people. And so, but yeah, that was kind of my perspective a little bit going into the internship. And
I think we definitely as an organization are growing for different opportunities. A lot of what Austin and I were able to do was leading the mission trips that were coming down. A lot of times you're leading people that are way older than you. Sometimes non-believers are coming to serve through medical trips. So it really was a growth opportunity for leadership for both of us. But then as an organization, we're growing with opportunities of if you have business skills, if you have marketing skills, those skills are just as essential and necessary on the mission field, just as much as leading the Hope Go mission trips. So even like at our stateside office, there are roles that you're able to also develop those professional skills within ministry that are just as needed to push ministry forward.
Yeah. It's a good reminder, because I think a lot of times people count themselves out because it's like, oh, I got a business degree, or I got this or whatever. I'm just going to go to the business world. But to know that, and I can use that in almost any degree. I feel like you can use in the ministry on mission, both locally here in the stateside office, like you're talking about, as well as on the mission field, So that's awesome. Austin, you talked about a little of the challenges, so you get to see some of those challenges. What are some of those? So you guys are on the mission field full time. You guys live over there.
Yeah.
Day to day, what are some of the challenges that you guys wrestle through?
Go take that.
Yeah, I mean, so Austin and I were able to be a part of the team going into the DR, expanding new ministry. So it was all very much new, pioneering. I think there were a lot of moments for us personally where we just had to learn, like, the DR is so different than Haiti. Same island, but completely different culture. Even for the Haitian community within the DR is different than what you experience going to Haiti. So I think a lot of times we had to wrestle through not comparing to the scope of ministry that we're doing in Haiti. 25 years of experience of investing and relationships, and you're starting all of that over in the DR. And I think in the initial phase of growth for any ministry, there's a lot of pioneering and investment and tilling on the front end that just takes patience and dependence on the Lord, and you don't always get to see the fruit of what this will turn out to be in 10 to 15 years. But just trusting that the Lord's going to bring the right people at the right time, and really defining, like, who is Mission of Hope in the DR. I think we just had to wrestle through that a lot for us personally.
Yeah, and I think too, going into the Dominican Republic, it's more of a developed country than Haiti is. It's crazy, the stark difference that you can see even on a map. You can look at Hispaniola and you can see a clear divide of Haiti and the DR without having to have a line. And so it's going to that side of the island to start doing ministry. Like Paige said, there was a lot of times where we had to kind of evaluate our perspectives and how we were seeing things, because all we knew was Haiti before coming to the DR. And so it was easy to see visually, try to look at need and say, like, oh, well, this looks like it's not as big of a need as what we saw in Haiti. So we had to wrestle that personally, and I know as an org, and really figure out, okay, what does it look like to meet the need here in the Dominican Republic? And that it's okay that the need looks different, but it doesn't mean that it's less of a priority or anything. And so we were coming in with, okay, there's need here. Physically and visually, it may look different, but at the heart of all of it, that root, that spiritual need, that heart issue was the same still throughout. And so it was coming into communities where, in Haiti, you're used to a lot of the tin homes and the tarped, the tarps that people are living under, and you've got a lot more concrete homes in the DR. But then you go and you start having conversations, and you're building relationships, and you're realizing, oh, the spiritual need is just the same. There's still people in desperate need of hope and a savior, even if visually it looks different. And there's still, you go into a concrete home, there's still, day by day trying to put food on the table. And so even if it looks a little bit different, it doesn't mean that our drive to meet those needs should change. And so that was something for us of really trying to take that in, and we just had to kind of wrestle through that perspective. And we've watched teams come in that used to serving in Haiti, and now they're serving in the DR, and we get to be a part of that process for them too, of hey, it's going to look different. You're going to go back home too, and you're going to have needs in your backyard that are needs that need to be met. But just because they look different than what you're seeing now doesn't mean we should be taking the same amount of care and level to meet those needs as you would in something that just looks just crazy, like impoverished and like we've seen in Haiti.
It's been interesting. So as we've been doing the mission series, we've been talking to all of our mission partners, and they all get to challenges. We've been talking about some challenges. And so you hear from Togo and Mexico, and you got all this stuff. And it's funny, you just keep boiling it down to like people are people.
Yeah.
It doesn't, they might have different amount of things, but it's like we still have idols here. They have idols there. They might look like an idol, actual God voodoo thing that they worship, and ours might look like the iPhone. But it's just interesting how we're not that different, and that the need for Jesus is the same, and how you get there might be a little different on what you navigate towards and what needs you have to meet. But it's just been cool to see. Like people are people, and they all need Jesus, and we get to be a light to do that. So, what about as you guys have dealt with challenges? You guys have spearheaded the DR and really tried to kind of, like you said, pioneer what that looks like in the DR for Mission of Hope. What are some of the wins? What are some like cool things that God's been doing over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest prayers for Mission of Hope coming into the DR and just witnessing a lot of the racial tensions between Dominicans and Haitians is praying that the local church can just be a bridge and can be the hope for reconciliation between both of those countries and those people groups. I think we've already witnessed that firsthand. There's a couple, Napoleon and Zarada, they're a Dominican couple who lived right next to a Haitian church. They were very outwardly outspoken about just frustration with the Haitian church, really calling the cops every time there was a worship service, just very outspoken about their disagreements. And a couple of years ago, their house actually burned down through a gas fire in flames, and it's right next to the Haitian church. And the Haitian pastor that we work with, Pastor Dione, he came to our staff and just in tears of like, is there anything that we can do to help these people? And he knew just the hard hearts that they had towards the church, and he still, just the amount of compassion that he had. And so our development team, took that and ran with it and raised the funds to be able to rebuild their home. Awesome. And it was all led locally. It wasn't a mission trip that came in and rebuilt that. It was the church and volunteers that came and did that, and we went and visited them afterwards, and just the amount of gratitude they had, like that's what the church is stepping into those needs despite others' opinions or others' feelings, and just showing that love and compassion towards people. And Zarada actually came to know the Lord because of that.
Wow.
So just a very tangible experience of like the church is the hope of the world.
Come on.
Yeah, and to add on to that, we were meeting with Pastor Dione a week ago, and he was just sharing with us how Zarada had actually invited him to come over soon and just to share with them to celebrate the finishing of their house. And he said, I want you guys to come with me because you guys were a part of this. And so hopefully when we go back, we're going to get to join him and them and just celebrate what the Lord was able to reconcile his people through his body, the church. And so that was really encouraging. And that's what we get to meet with a lot of Haitian and Dominican pastors and bring them together as well has been a big piece of what we desire to do. And so it's been really encouraging getting to see them start to click, build relationships that, they even talked to us about, man, if you guys hadn't brought us together, I don't know if we would have had this relationship. And so it's been really encouraging just to get to be a vessel that the Lord's using to, how do we get pastors together? And how do we get pastors from different cultures and different places together in different languages and allow them that space to talk about, how do we meet the needs in our communities and how do we do it together as one body and as one church? So that's been something that's just been really cool to see over the last couple of years. We get into the day-to-day and the grind of tilling, but to be able to step back and see, look at all these relationships that the Lord's allowed us to be a part of through his body, the church there, has been really encouraging.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about, so as you guys think 3 to 5 years, what's kind of the things you're hoping for, praying for? What would you love to see the Lord do through you guys, through the ministry, through the pastor? What would you love to see in 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think as an organization, really over the last couple of years, our vision has really expanded a lot to the entire Caribbean. As we know, the Lord has been opening doors for us to serve in Turks and Caicos and Bahamas, in other areas because of disaster relief, because we do a lot of that as well. But that's opened up doors to build relationships with the churches and the pastors in those areas. And so I know there's a desire to expand into more of the Dominican Republic, because we just did some hurricane response after Fiona this last year and met a lot of incredible pastors out in the East that are doing really good things in some really hard areas, and they need some support. And so there's a desire to build local teams, raise up local leaders like Paige talked about earlier in the areas we're currently in that can carry the vision forward so we can continue to expand into more spaces and continue to have that conversation about, Lord, if you want us in more places in the Caribbean, like we want to be able to encourage the church throughout all of the Caribbean. And I think over the next 3 to 5 years, really just over the next year, I think there's the prayer that Haiti will continue to get better. And it's been a hard spot for Mission of Hope. I mean, 25 years in that country, but not really being able to go in and out like we used to for the last, 4 years has been really hard for, a lot of our staff that have built relationships, but even the staff that are there that we had connection with that are still trying to do ministry where they can, when they can, depending on, gangs and the movement and all the political stuff going on. I think there's obviously always the prayer that Haiti, there's redemption coming, and we believe that there is. But sometimes it's hard to see with all the stuff that's going on in Haiti, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. And so what if our church is listening to this and they're saying, man, I love what you guys are talking about. Maybe it's the internship, or maybe it's just the ministry that's going on over there, the racial reconciliation. Like, how can they get involved? If they want to get involved with what you guys are doing, how could they do that? Both, I guess, from going, there's ways to get involved if you go over there, as well as maybe what if they can't, or they don't have the funds or whatever. What if they're here? What could they do? What are some things that they can do?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we really would covet people's prayers. We, as Mission of Hope, don't want to do anything if the Lord has not led us and gone before us wherever we're going. So prayer for just wisdom in a time when there's a lot of unknown. Prayer for Haiti, prayer for the Caribbean as a whole, that it wouldn't just be about Mission of Hope, but partners and other organizations coming alongside one another to really see the Caribbean transform for Christ. And then there's lots of ways to go. You're able to step out and just try a mission trip. We just have a new property in Harbacoa. It's beautiful. We now have a permanent location and a permanent presence. So able to come on mission trips. The internship is also a great way to step out if you're wanting to do something a little bit longer. And then there's lots of ways to give. Financially to support, we still have our education running hard in Haiti.
Cool.
So sponsoring a child, education can make a world of a difference and can change somebody's life. So that's an easy way to partner with us, also with nutrition. And then there's also a lot of ways that we're developing local ministry in the DR as well. And so we have a website that has a lot more details, missionofhope.com. There's lots of ways to give and to jump on board with the mission.
Cool. And if they are going, you guys have like several, I think you talked about a medical option. You have kind of the normal construction stuff. You have kids option, like all ages can kind of go over there and serve in lots of different areas.
Yep. So we set up all of our teams. We're always serving through the local church, but there's many different ways to do that. Medically, we've actually had a lot of families come down.
Cool.
We've had a lot of young kids able to come and serve, and to see families get to do that together is really special. Yeah. And I think the DR is a great place. It's a great place to step into that. If you've never done missions, it's a good first place to do that. So any of the skills you have, it's really helpful in advancing the ministry of the local church.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, for taking the time to meet with us. And the rest of y'all, thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next week with another mission partner. Y'all take care.
Thanks, Matt.